This is VSiN PrimeTime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hour number 3 of VSiN PrimeTime alongside Matt Youmans. I'm Tim Murray. We're live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. We're at the half between the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. And the Celtics have a 62-51 lead. They are a 9.5-point in-game favorite against the Knicks at DraftKings. 215.5 is the total. So we're up about 4 points on the spread, Matt, and about 7 points on the total after that first half, as the Celtics cover the 3.5 in the first half, and the first half total goes over the number as well. If you think the Knicks can do what they did in games 1 and 2 and come back, Matt, plus 340 on the money line are the New York Knickerbockers.
Yeah, at this point, I would only look at the dog because the Celtics go cold from 3. The Knicks could close this gap pretty quickly. But again, I'm not going to bet this game at the start of the third quarter. When you're talking live and you're talking Celtics games, I would look at the dog more often than not. They blew 20-point leads in the first 2 games of the series. When they go cold from 3, these leads can disappear quickly, and the Celtics up 11. 11's not a lot. It sounds like a lot, but in the NBA, you can wipe out a lead like that in about 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Or 3 minutes, whatever it takes. If Boston's cold from 3, the Knicks can get right back into it. The one thing I will say watching these Knicks games, are we all sick of seeing Spike Lee on courtside? Why this guy?
You mean St. John's biggest fan? Remember, he went to the second round game.
Yeah, he showed up for the second round when they got beat, and then he was a St. John's fan for one game apparently. But the Knicks haven't won anything significant in so long, and their fans are so obnoxious, so annoying and obnoxious, and Spike Lee is right there at the forefront. I'm just tired of when the Knicks went on a little run, the camera goes straight to Spike Lee. Why? What's the point?
He's their super fan. Second half about to get underway. Jason Tatum was great in the first half at 20 points. Derek White had 17 points as well. On the ice, Matt, 2 periods in the books, the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes went off, depending on where you looked. One shop here in town was as high as minus 250 on the Carolina Hurricanes. Circa closed minus 225, DraftKings minus 238, and looks like that was the right side as it's 2-0 after 2 periods. Total was 5.5 juiced under. We've seen the under hit in the first period in all 4 games, and it is trending towards the under hitting in this one. But you always do get a little bit worried, Matt, if you've got that under ticket with those empty netters. But the live total sits at 3.5 juiced over at minus 180. So we saw game 3 end up 4-0 Hurricanes. So we'll see if the Capitals are able to get on the board. If you do think the Caps can get within striking distance or keep it the same, plus 2.5 is plus 130 right now for the for the Washington Capitals against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Alex Ovechkin was so good in the first round of the playoffs for the Caps with 4 goals, and Tim, he can't get on the board here in the second round against the Hurricanes.
No, and the Caps are really struggling offensively. 1 goal in game 1. They did have 3, including an empty netter in game 2, and they were shut out in game 3, and right now shut out through 2 periods. So down in Raleigh, they have gone 5 periods without getting past Freddie Anderson there. So it has been all Canes.
Should talk about the other hockey game tonight, too. It's going to be a big one here because, Tim, the sportsbook behind us is filling up fast.
It is packed.
It's going to be a packed house here tonight. The Stadium Swim watch party for the Vegas Golden Knights game moved indoors.
And if you're watching on TV right now, look up in the corner. There's the man, Derek Stevens, up in his spot. Him and Big Balls out there ready to watch this game. So they are getting ready to take it all in. And I imagine you and me, Matt, will stop by that little area post-game and check out a little Golden Knights and Edmonton Oilers. That series has been awesome.
Yeah, high winds outside tonight. Had to move the party indoors, and it's going to be a packed sports book tonight for Game 4 of the Golden Knights and Oilers. And Tim, I think it's interesting. If you watch this series, you probably think that the Oilers are just a little bit better, right? A little younger, a little faster. You watch Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and say that the Oilers probably a little bit too good offensively, and they're going to win this series. But with a 2-1 series lead tonight, Oilers Game 4, how about this? I'm seeing out there in the market as low as minus 114, minus 115. Here at Circa, minus 117, total of 6.5. Again, this has been a high-scoring series. But the Edmonton Oilers not getting a ton of respect with this line tonight being on the home ice in Game 4.
Well, you got to think about it this way, Matt. 3 games with Stuart Skinner in net, 3 losses for the Edmonton Oilers.
You think that price is depressed because of the goaltender?
Absolutely. Cal Pickard is undefeated so far in this postseason. They won 6 straight games with him in net. He's sidelined, might be done for the rest of the series. Stuart Skinner in net tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. How about this? When you look at the total, Matt, we saw Game 1 go under 4-2. The Edmonton Oilers won that game. It was plus money to the under in that one. Then the market moved just a little bit, 6.5 minus 20 to the over Game 2. That's where we saw 5-4 Edmonton in overtime. Then in Game 3, we saw the 4-3 Vegas win with the buzzer beater, so to speak, in that one, 6.5 minus 45 to the over. We've actually seen a little bit of under money come into the market because right now we're sitting 6.5 minus 35 to the over. So far in this series, Matt, on the closing number, 2-1 to the over. First periods have gone over twice in this series. The only one it did not go over was in Game 2. And, we talk about live betting all the time here on this show. How about this series? Vegas led 2-0 in Game 1, lost 4-2. Game 2, Edmonton had a 3-1 lead. Vegas came back, led 4-3, lost 5-4. And then on Saturday night, Edmonton led 2-0. Vegas led 3-2. Edmonton ties it up. Looks like we're destined for overtime north of the border, and then we get the 0.4 of a second to go goal to make it 4-3 Vegas. This series has been fantastic, and if you've been betting it in game, you've been able to get some really juicy numbers on the winner at some point in the contest.
The last 2 games of the series, Game 2 in Vegas, Game 3 in Edmonton, 2 of the best hockey games I've watched in a while. So that's a lot to live up to tonight in Game 4, but this series has been outstanding. And I thought the goaltenders actually played pretty well in Game 3, Tim.
That game was so good.
There were a couple fluke goals scored, one on each side late in that game. I don't think you could pin the loss on the goaltenders, right?
No, I don't think. I guess, look, I'm no hockey expert, but I guess on that final goal, Stuart Skinner probably shouldn't have come that far out of net, knowing there was that little time to go. But
that's true. But then again, somebody should have stopped William Karlsson.
There were two defenders there.
Down the ice.
Yeah.
Nobody on the Edmonton defense stepped up to stop him. Skinner steps out. He made Riley Smith shoot that at a little bit of an off angle.
Yeah.
It was not going to go in unless Draisaitl deflected the puck in.
Yeah.
Now that's a snap decision he's going to make there. I'm just saying I don't think the goaltenders, Aiden Hill on the Vegas side, Stuart Skinner on the Edmonton side, were that bad. I thought they were okay in Game 3. Maybe that's a little bit of the under money showing up tonight. That Tim, also sometimes the deeper you get into these series, the more they become tightly played, right?
Yep.
And not as wide open. And I think that's might be why you're seeing a little bit of under money.
And we saw that last night with Toronto and Florida, right? Games 1, 2, and 3 go over the total. We see the market go upwards and an easy under there as the Panthers now have evened up that series. And the folks in Toronto who are so desperate for a winning team, doesn't feel like they're in great shape against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers.
They just had the Raptors win the NBA championship about 4 years ago. What do you want? Huh?
The Blue Jays won that World Series in '93. Come on. Yeah, you're good. You're good up there. The Argos, I'm sure they've won a Grey Cup at some point in this past stretch. On the hardwood, we're going to talk a little bit more about this game. Douglas Farmer from Covers.com, who lives up in the Twin Cities, Matt, joined me on Saturday and had a really good handicap of the game. Jimmy Butler, all over for him. That came home with ease. And then a very good long shot there, around 5-1 on the double result. Golden State to lead at half, Minnesota to win the game, and that came to fruition. Matt, we're seeing some late money come in on the Golden State Warriors. This was at 5.5 when we started the show. It is now 4.5. Total sits at 201.5. In this series, we've seen 2 unders and 1 over. The lone over came in Game 2. The market opened this series at 210. In Game 1. Right. Now, the big caveat being Steph Curry played in Game 1 before getting the hamstring injury. Minnesota was a 6-point favorite in Game 1 at home. Of course, with Steph Curry, Minnesota moved to an 11-point favorite in Game 2. They won and covered. And then Game 3, they were a 5.5-point favorite, 102-97, the final score there. And that one, Matt, as Draymond Green alerted his team that the point spread was 5.5 there, as Jonathan Kuminga hit a late 3 in that one. So 201.5.
That was so bizarre, by the way. The cameras, and this showed up on social media later, right? That Draymond is yelling at his teammates with how much time was left when he's yelling this? About 30 seconds.
Yeah,
left.
it was under a minute for sure.
The point spread is 5.5. It's an 8-point game. I couldn't believe he actually said that. But anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about this game. I think Jimmy Butler with 33 points in Game 3 is going to have to do that again. The thing is, what are you going to get from Buddy Hield, Jonathan Kuminga? How about Brandon Podziemski? He's got to step up tonight. He had 5 points in Game 3. I think that's the guy who's going to step up and make some threes tonight if the Warriors are going to win this game. Tim, I kind of like the Warriors tonight. Not enough to play them
desperate
pregame
spot, man.
Plus 4.5. This is kind of the spot where the Warriors have to tie up the series while they wait on Steph Curry to come back if they're going to have any shot.
Yeah, my only worry was, did they exhaust all of that effort in Game 3? Had the lead, let it slip out of their hands. Anthony Edwards was tremendous in Game 3, by far his best game of this series. He was fantastic. Quick update from Madison Square Garden. Knicks not going away. We've been saying it all night long. 72-63. Just when you think the Celtics, Matt, are going to pull away and win, just not the case. 72-63, your live number back down to 6.5. 221.5 is the score right now there at Madison Square Garden as Jason Tatum doing his Tatnit step back bomb and missing it. So a 9-point lead right now for the Boston Celtics.
Was that a 32-footer?
And Jaylen Brown just fouled Jalen Brunson. So 3 free throws coming
Knicks
for the New York Knicks. Down to
comeback
6.5. We'll talk much more about T-Wolves and Warriors with Douglas Farmer of Covers.com. He'll join us next.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You know, seeing the live market kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it, but the New York Knicks, the never say die Knicks, they keep on clawing. Just cut it to 5 a moment ago, Matt, and then the Celtics responded and made it 77-67. But the Knicks going to battle. It's an 8-point game right now. Total out to 224.5 here in the third quarter as the Celtics a 7.5-point favorite. Not over yet in Carolina. The Washington Capitals, Matt, on the board. And at the intermission, you could have got Caps plus 2.5 at plus 130.
Take that right now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's 2-1 Carolina, and right now the puck line minus 1.5 for Carolina, minus 20 because of the likelihood if it is 2-1 late in this one, the empty net will come about. So Hurricanes and Capitals right now, 2-1 is the score, and the Hurricanes with that lead, 77-67 the score at Madison Square Garden. Knicks just continuing to hang around throughout this game. They're going to make it a 6-point game here on this possession. So if you're a Celtics backer, this game is really, even though, Matt, they've had big leads, you've never really felt all that comfortable. The Knicks just don't go away in this one. Speaking of which, let's keep it rolling here with the NBA. On Saturday, had this guest on the show, and he handicapped the T-Wolves and Warriors to perfection. So, as we like to say, just do it again. Douglas Farmer joins us right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line, Covers.com at @D_Farmer is where you can find him on social media. This will be game 4, of course, out at the Chase Center. You know this T-Wolves team as well as anyone, Douglas. I know you've got some props that you're looking at, but let's just look at the number right now. We've seen some late money come in on Golden State. It's gone from 5.5 to 4.5. Do you agree with that movement on the Warrior side from 5.5 down to 4.5?
Not only do I disagree with it, I'm confused by the movement from 5.5 to 4.5 while the total has ticked up from 200.5 to 201.5. Sure, that's a small move, but in my opinion, if you're siding with the Warriors here, you need to be siding with a muck-it-up defensive showcase, not points showing up at all. So those two going against each other, in my opinion, further confuses me. But no, as for the side outright, 4.5 is too short. It is just too stinking short. And I think it's probably mostly narrative-based on Golden State's down 2-1. We should always shorten those up in those moments. That's not always the case.
No, not always the case. So what do you think the Warriors have to do to pull off this win and even this series of 2. Jimmy Butler, everybody said he's got to win a game while Steph Curry's out. Butler had 33, but aside from him, Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, really the only 2 to show up. They actually shot the ball well from 3, talking about the Warriors too, Douglas. 10 for 23 from 3. I thought Golden State played a pretty effective game for the most part in Game 3, yet still lost. That's why I don't have a lot of faith in the Warriors coming through tonight, and it sounds like you don't either.
Everything went Golden State's way. I'm not trying to take away from it. They earned that. I'm not one to ever praise Jimmy the Coward, but he really showed up in Game 3. He did as much as he possibly could. And then you look at that fourth quarter. In that final frame, he goes 1 of 7, scores 5 points. He was worn out, understandably so. He's carrying too much of a load for this team at this point, especially when Draymond Green is offensively ineffective, as he has been for how many years, and even more so nowadays. What can Golden State do? I don't know what more they can do that they didn't do in Game 3. The Wolves didn't score a point for 6.5 minutes. Didn't make a field goal for 6.5 minutes to end the first half, and we're still within a point at halftime, which Tim and I were very grateful for. Helped us bring home a little 5-1 piece of action. But I don't know what more the Warriors can do. Their best hope tonight might be that the Timberwolves shoot worse than they've been shooting lately, which finally they broke through in the fourth quarter as a team going 6 of 10 after Anthony Edwards snatched Kevon Looney's soul with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. I'm out of ideas for Golden State aside from some shooting variants, and that's because we saw them throw such a good punch in Game 3 and then have nothing left in the final frame.
Yeah, you couldn't ask much more out of Jimmy Butler than what he did in Game 3. When you look at player props tonight for Game 4, let's just say from a Golden State perspective, is there anything you see you like?
I'm taking under on Jimmy Butler, under 26.5 points. Just before the show, I saw that available as low as neg 105. A lot of books have that juiced out to neg 125. That's why we always shop around. It was DraftKings that had that at neg 105. Jimmy Butler under 26.5 points. I just think he cannot have that much left. The way he tailed off in that game, you look at quarters 1 and 3, after halftime, he get a little bit of a boost. He did pretty well. Third quarter, 10 points, 4 of 6 shooting. Look at quarters 2 and 4. He combined for 12 points on 3 of 13 shooting. Furthermore, the Timberwolves have outright acknowledged in the last 2 days that they have better defense on Jimmy Butler when Rudy Gobert is in the game. They're playing better and more comfortable with Rudy Gobert when they have a lead in the postseason. So I suspect the coaching emphasis in the last 2 days has been, hey, let's get a 4-point lead, let's get a 6-point lead, and ride Rudy's defense. Because at that point, where's Jimmy going to go? If you flash back to games 1 and 2, there were so many moments where Jimmy the Coward, and when I call him a coward, I'm saying he's run away and burned down 3 franchises in a row. But I'll also point out that when he gets to Rudy Gobert in the paint, he never minds, wheels away, dishes the ball away. Sometimes that works out for a Buddy Hield 3, but it's not Jimmy scoring. Jimmy Butler under 26.5 is my driving Golden State thought tonight.
And Douglas Farmer joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line at D_Farmer. It's been funny. You talked about the total when you came on the air, as we've seen Golden State money come in and then over money. Well, as we've been talking, the board behind us has gone as low as 199 on the total and is now back to 200. So we've seen a little bit of a disagreement there in the market on this total. Right now, we'll call it a consensus 200 between Minnesota and Golden State. So this T-Wolves team as well as anyone, Douglas. So let's jump to the T-Wolves and what you're looking at from a prop market here. Rudy Gobert, his rebound prop is sitting at 10.5. I'm looking at DraftKings right now, plus 110 to the over, minus $140 to the under. Anything you like with Rudy Gobert tonight in the rebound market?
I'm taking that over. I'm taking that over without hesitation. First of all, getting to Rudy Gobert, rebounding prop at an over, that's always just good life philosophy. However you want to claim you feel about Rudy Gobert, the guy collects rebounds. Getting that over 10.5 at plus 110 is delightful. But the real item here is the Timberwolves have already acknowledged that they play better defense against Jimmy when Rudy's in the game. Jimmy is Golden State's only option, so you need Rudy in the game. Rudy's playing time is going to tick upward tonight. He's going to see more minutes, especially if Minnesota has the lead that, quite frankly, I expect them to. At that point, Rudy's going to end up with 12, 13, 14 rebounds because that's more of his status quo when he's playing his usual workload. Over 10.5 at plus money is just an absolute value delight tonight.
Hey, Tim Murray talked about this during the game tonight. The Celtics were up 10-1 at the time, somewhere around 10 points.
Yep.
DraftKings put up Celtics minus 130 to win the NBA championship.
To win the East.
To win the East, sorry. To win the East. And Would you agree with that? We'll see. We are 4-minute mark of the third quarter. Celtics up 5. If the Celtics win tonight, they're going to win this series, and that 130 is a good bet. Tim, I believe it's been bet up since then.
160 right now to win the East, but the Knicks are just hanging around. So
what's your confidence level in the Celtics? Let's say if they're going to face the Pacers in the East, and what you think that series line should be, because we're thinking Boston's going to be a $4 or $5 favorite in that series.
Well, obviously, this is contingent on Boston holding on tonight. They're only 1-2 in this series in close games for a reason. If they hold on tonight, yes, I would take them to win the East up to at least $2, neg 200 at least. They had advantages on the Pacers, and the biggest difference in this exact conversation between the Celtics and the Cavs is the Celtics are more comfortable playing at pace. The Cavs offense is not designed for Indiana's pace. The Cavs defense can't even try to keep up with Indiana's pace. Boston will be in a better position to do so. It might still take them a game or two to figure out. That's one of the many fun things about Indiana. Their unique offense seems to just confuse coaching staffs for at least 60 minutes, if not a game and a half, 72 minutes. So that might set Boston back and you'll end up with a better price, but I wouldn't bank on that. I will gladly, if you tell me Boston wins tonight, I will gladly take them up to neg 200 to win the East.
Yeah, right now I'm buck minus 60, but Josh Hart, the free throw line, he's going to make 1 of 2 free throws. We got a 4-point game, folks, at Madison Square Garden. Douglas, enjoy it tonight, man, and always appreciate your insight.
Hey, I appreciate it as well. And just for one plus money thought, Wolves alt line 8.5 plus 156.
All right, there you go. So his 3 bets for the game tonight: Rudy Gobert over on his rebounds, Matt. Jimmy Butler under 26.5, and Warriors on the alt line. He thinks they win comfortably. 8.5 plus 150.
I like his Rudy Gobert prop. I think if I had to play one of those, that would be the best bet. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. 10.5 plus money to the over. We got a sweat going on here at Madison Square Garden. Good one brewing between the Knicks and the Celtics. The Celtics, as Douglas just mentioned.
2-point game, buddy. 83-81.
Yeah,
Celtics with 2.5 minutes to go.
Feeling good until I wasn't. And now the point spread down to 3.5, minus 180 for the Celtics on the money line. Wow, what is Jason Tatum doing? I mean, good Lord. He just olayed an absolute easy offensive rebound. Hey, folks, just a reminder, Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums. Earn cash back rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits. You can sign up today. Edgeboost.bet. The promo code is PRIME, PRIME. Deposit $25. Edge Boost will match that deposit. Edgeboost.bet. 2.5 minutes to go, Matt. Madison Square Garden.
Jalen Brunson just went over his points prop. He's got 29.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You are looking live at the Circa Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, 10 minutes away or so from the start of Vegas and Edmonton. A watch party here tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers. Hey, folks, the NBA playoffs are heating up, and our partner ProfitX is offering the best odds all playoffs long. ProfitX is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40 states. You'll be able to make your own sports picks against other groups of fans rather than against sports books. Exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. Download ProfitX today. Use the code VSIN, VSIN, and earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. All right, ladies and gentlemen, things are getting spicy. 58 seconds to go at the Garden, and we were, just a moment ago, Matt Youmans, tied at 83 apiece. Jason Tatum just made 2 free throws, but it is going to be coming down to the wire, so it feels like, between the between the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics. 85-83 is the score between the Celtics and the Knicks. And I believe Derek White just stepped out of bounds after a rebound, so the Knicks will retain possession. Matt, you've got good eyes on what's happening down in Raleigh, North Carolina. Things getting interesting with the Caps and Canes as the Great Eight. You've been asking for him to deliver, and he finally did on the power play just a little while ago.
Washington's got 20 seconds left on a power play now. Carolina up 3-2 in the game. Alex Ovechkin scores. get about 2-1 odds on him to score a goal tonight, and he cashes in. That's his first goal of the series. So 1-goal lead for Carolina with about 6 minutes to go in that one, and a 1-point lead for the Knicks, 86-85 as we get to the end of the third quarter here. 86-85, 88-85.
Wow.
Knicks up 3, now flipped to 1.5-point favorites live. Knicks now 1.5-point favorites, total 224.5.
Another collapse in the works by the Boston Celtics.
Celtics were up 14. I believe they were up 72-58, and the money line at that point was minus $6, maybe even a little bit higher. Right now, the Knicks are minus 145 in the game.
88-85 after 3 quarters. The Celtics melting down in front of our eyes yet again as Josh Hart gets a bucket at the end of the third quarter. A third quarter dominated by the Knicks, and the Celtics, that money line, that price that I talked about that I was so intrigued to get, I got it at minus 150. Matt, it's back to minus 130, and I would not make that bet right now because the New York Knicks have a 3-point lead after the third quarter. This Celtics team, look, they're better than the New York Knicks, and they just can't stay out of their own way. I mean, it is pretty.
Well, they go cold from 3. Okay, they were 12 for 24 from 3 at halftime. In that quarter, they were 3 for 12. 3 for 12 from 3 in the third quarter, and that's why they blew the lead. Tim, as the 3-point shooting goes, that's how the Celtics go.
And there's no doubt 88-85, by far the best offensive performance we've seen from the New York Knicks so far in this series. They are on the glass. I wanted to check this. They are +9 on the glass, Matt. They've had 12 offensive rebounds. They keep coming on that offensive glass, and it has been impressive to see. The Knicks outscored the Boston Celtics 37-23 in the third quarter. And Matt, as you mentioned, right now you are looking at a live line of Celtics plus 2.5, minus 130 on the money line for the New York Knicks.
Well, what were we talking about? With a team like the Celtics who shoots so many threes, you got to look at the dog in live betting, either taking the points or taking a money line price. You could have had 11.5 with the Knicks. You could have had, about plus $4, right? I believe when the Celtics got up to minus 620, favorites at 1 point. A team like this, when it goes cold from 3, those big leads can disappear quickly, and that's what's happened tonight with Boston. Right now at DraftKings, Knicks are minus 2.5. Total 223.5, Knicks minus 130 to win the game.
Look, Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics, they won the championship last year. I don't know if it was game 1 or game 2, Matt. They kept relying on this just moronic play of let the clock bleed, and Jason Tatum ends up taking a contested step back 3, and they were up 83-81, a minute 45 to go in the third quarter. They bring it up, Matt. They bleed the shot clock to 6. They do a step back 3. Guess what happens? Air ball. Derek White is able to get the air ball before it goes out of bounds. They miss another 3. For a team that is as skilled as they are, and I just bet them to win the Eastern Conference. I think they will win the Eastern Conference, barring a loss tonight, which certainly seems very much on the table. It's maddening at times when you look at this offense that they run. And I know this is a team that relies heavily on a 3. They made it to the championship a year ago, Matt. But, man, this is wild. Here we go again. The Knicks, these are the cardiac Knicks, man. It is impressive to see them continuing to just never quit here. Down 20 in game 1, down 20 in game 2 in the third quarter, came back down 11 at the half, and they now have the lead going into the fourth quarter. And I don't know why you would really have any confidence that the Celtics can come back and win it. They're talented enough to win it, but they haven't proved it to us that they can win a close game in this series yet.
No, but if they get hot from 3 in the fourth quarter, they'll probably come back and win the game. It's about the 3-point shooting. When about 80% of your attempts are from the 3-point line, you're going to live or die with that shot. And that's what we've seen. Tim, I don't think when we're down here to the Elite 8 in the NBA playoffs, I don't think any of these are great teams. All these teams are really flawed. I still think you got to make the OKC Thunder the favorites. Mm-hmm. But the more I watch the Thunder, the less I like them too. So
I think Chris Massaro is a big fan of the Thunder right now. I've been checking his tweets.
Follow his Twitter timeline for the past 4 or 5 days to keep you entertained for a little bit. If you know Chris, read his Twitter timeline at Real Gauge.
5-point lead now for the New York Knicks, ladies and gentlemen.
90-85. The Knicks on top of the Celtics. Spike Lee going crazy courtside. Paul Bovey pumping them up. The Knicks up 5 with 11.5 minutes to go. Knicks now minus 145. And that total, which was 207, 208, the live total 225.5.
Man, I don't know. That's a travel on Peyton Pritchard. So maybe they might have called a foul on the floor. We'll see what the Knicks ultimately decide to do. By the way, the Atlanta Braves have walked off the Washington Nationals as the Nationals' horrendous bullpen continues to rear its ugly head. But I wanted to bring this up because the Atlanta Braves, Matt, were up 3-1 with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. A hard ground ball off the bat of Dylan Cruz. Nick Allen moves to his left, double clutches, throws the ball away. 2-run score for the Nats, but it's all for naught as the Atlanta Braves walk it off there in the bottom of the ninth inning. So 4-3, the Braves get the win. Nationals, another L for them. We talked about this, Matt. If you wanted to bet on Paul Skeens and the Pittsburgh Pirates, first 5 not full game. We're in the middle of the 8th inning. The Mets, which was 1-1 against Paul Skeens, it is now 3-2 Mets over the Pittsburgh Pirates. You talk about a brutal bullpen. Pittsburgh is definitely a brutal bullpen as well, as now we get another goal in Carolina. This thing has opened up. The Carolina Hurricanes have scored 4 goals, and for the first time, Matt, in this series, we get a full game over, and it had nothing to do with empty nets. We see 2 goals from Carolina, 2 goals from Washington in this third period, and the Hurricanes now lead 4-2 in this one, as Logan Thompson, who has been so good for the Capitals throughout this postseason, that's a pretty bad goal to allow there, just a 5-hole goal, and it is now 4-2 in favor of the Carolina Hurricanes late in the third period.
Tim, we got 3 baseball games we're going to talk about here. They're going to start within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and start in the American League with the Yankees and Mariners. Clark Schmidt and the Yankees favorites up in Seattle, minus 147. Total of 8. Yankees offense in good shape after a weekend series in Sacramento against the A's. I think that number is about right. That's and there's been steam on the Yankees, by the way, up to about minus 150. So that's what you're looking at. 1 of 3 late games. Also, interleague in San Diego, the Angels are going to start Kikuchi tonight against Michael King and the Padres. Michael King's one of my favorite pitchers to bet, Tim, but not at this price. Circa right now at Padres minus 215. Total is 7 at Petco. So if you're going to play the Padres there, I think you got to play him on the runs line. Michael King off to a great start, and so are the Padres. And how about Arizona-San Francisco tonight? Merrill Kelly against Justin Verlander. D-backs are minus 122 off that big weekend series against the Dodgers. I might consider the home dog in this one. I've been thinking about it. I have been considering it today. I have not made the bet. Justin Verlander's made 8 starts for the Giants. He is seeking his first win. Last week, Verlander pitched well against the Rockies. Bullpen let it get away. Verlander with 8 starts, 42 innings. He's got 35 strikeouts, a whip of 1.31. Sometimes when you catch a team off a big series like the D-backs has had against the Dodgers, and they go on the road, I like to bet against a team in that situation. Verlander's pitching well enough. I think I could play him. I can make a case for the dog here. If I'm going to play anything late tonight, it'd be the Giants plus 112.
Hurricanes putting the finishing touches on the Washington Capitals, an empty netter. It's now 5-2 Carolina. Over has come home in that one. Breaking the action at Madison Square Garden. Knicks lead 92-89, minus 115 both ways.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Come final in Carolina, the Hurricanes now up 3-1 on the Washington Capitals. Final score, 5-2, so you get an over in Carolina for the first time of that series. The first period still stayed under. 94-91, the New York Knicks with the lead over the Boston Celtics. Matt Youmans, it was once upon a time a 14-point lead for the Boston Celtics as they clank another three. Derek White does get the offensive rebound, so we will see how this one continues to play out. It looks like Kristaps Porzingis going to head to the free throw line. 8:53 to go right now, Matt, at Madison Square Garden, and it is essentially a pick'em between the Celtics and the Knicks as Porzingis heads to the free throw line in this one. And you were saying it, and I tend to agree. Man, I don't think the Knicks are a very good team, but goodness gracious, they are grittier than this Boston Celtics team, it feels like.
Celtics have toughness. They play a finesse style, Tim. When you shoot that many threes, let's say you shoot 40, 50 threes a game, you're not going to be a tough physical team. And a lot of times you're not going to be a tough-minded team. They shoot that many threes, I think you're seeing a team that's a little bit too soft. But again, I look at the Elite Eight of the NBA right now. I don't love any of the teams left. I think all these teams are seriously flawed. And that obviously includes the Celtics, who are right now down 96-93 with 8.5 minutes to go.
And the thing about Boston, a very good defensive team. You saw it in the first three games of this series, despite the losses. It feels like the Knicks, when they need it, they're getting buckets. And, you put yourself in this situation when you squander multiple 20-point leads. They should be up 3-0. They should be trying to close this series out. And instead, now you're in a spot where you lose this game and you're in a whole lot of trouble, down 3-1 against the New York Knicks. So
all tied.
Yeah, we will.
Tied at 96. Celtics about to hit a three here to tie the game. They have flipped back to the favorites here. Live number at DraftKings, Celtics -1.5. And the Knicks are going to answer with the bucket to go up 98-96.
Jason Tatum hits the three, but once again, to your point, the size for the Knicks, you've seen Mitchell Robinson really dominate from a glass standpoint. Obviously, he struggles mightily from the free throw line. We've seen the Hacka Mitchell Robinson instituted, but on the boards tonight, they are +7. Karl Anthony Towns has 11 rebounds. Mitchell Robinson's going to get an alley-oop there. He's got 6 boards in this game, 5 of them coming on the offensive glass. So a 2-point game, the Knicks and the Celtics right now in the fourth quarter. And this one is going to come down to the wire there at Madison Square Garden as Drew Holiday puts up a 3 and clanks it.
Boy,
and
talk about a guy who's been a ghost. This game with Drew Holiday. Look at his box score line tonight, Tim. It's pretty ugly. What is it?
Drew Holiday tonight, 1 of 4 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, -6, 2 points, 3 boards, 1 assist, and just had a wide open 3 that he missed. 16 of 39 right now from long range, but if you extrapolate that to the second half, they are 4 of 15, Matt, here in the second half. It was 12 of 24 at the break. It is now 16 of 39 in this game, but we're going to go back and forth here in this one. If you missed it, Matt, earlier tonight, for those folks, tuning in wherever you may be on this Monday evening, a shock across the NBA world as the Dallas Mavericks, with a 1.8% chance, win the NBA lottery. The Cooper Flag sweepstakes go to the Dallas Mavericks. So Nico Moron Harrison gets bailed out here as he will get an opportunity, maybe, to get Cooper Flag. San Antonio gets 2. Philly gets 3. The teams with the best odds, Charlotte, Utah, and Washington, Matt, to get the top pick, go 4, 5, and 6. Charlotte, Utah, and Washington. And the interesting thing, Matt, about this whole situation now is what happens with Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. There was a report earlier today from Shams Charania that he is open to the possibility of exploring a trade, and Brian Windhorst talked more. That's
not the way I would phrase it, by the way.
And Brian Windhorst,
the freak wants out of Milwaukee, and he's trying to push for a trade. Yeah.
So let's hear from ESPN's Brian Windhorst. This was prior to the news of the NBA draft order coming out. This was Brian Windhorst on the future of Giannis in Milwaukee.
2 things you have to know about the Bucks when you consider a trade. Number 1, the Bucks do not control their first-round pick for 5 years. That means if the Bucks are going to trade him, thinking that they're going to tank for the next 3 years and rebuild is not going to happen. They need quality players. And the other thing that you need to know is if you're going to trade Giannis to a team that's going to be a super team, getting that team's draft assets is not exciting because they're not going to be very high picks for the next few years. So you're going to look at teams that have players to trade and other teams' draft assets that they can trade besides theirs. San Antonio and Houston. San Antonio and Houston. San Antonio and Houston. Pay attention there.
San Antonio and Houston. I think San Antonio the most likely spot for the Freak if there's going to be a deal done. He's got to yell that into the camera on that ESPN show because you know that on set they're probably talking Knicks. It's going to be the Freak to the Knicks. I think it's going to be more likely the Freak to the Spurs. But again, how about this? Mavericks had a 1.8% chance to win the draft lottery tonight. At BetMGM, you could have played the Mavericks at 40-1 odds to win the number one pick. They come away with it. Tim, there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I see them floating around on Twitter that the commissioner calls the Mavericks and says, hey, if you trade Luka Doncic to L.A., we will make sure you get the number one pick, Cooper Flagg. I'm not buying into that. I'm going to say, for the record, when David Stern ran the NBA, I was all in on the conspiracy theories. Not this one. I'm not buying this one.
Yeah, I'm not buying it either. Dallas gets the fortune.
Got lucky.
I guess, yeah, very lucky. 1.8% chance. But let's go back to what Brian Windhorst said. By the way, underway in Edmonton, Vegas and the Edmonton Oilers. This game, if you're wondering, went off on the odds board at Vegas, a very slight underdog, around plus 101 here at Circa. So that is where we sit for that one. Stuart Skinner in net for the Edmonton Oilers as he has struggled mightily. A goals against average of 5.36 in the postseason.
How about the total? Total 6.5 in Golden Knights Oilers, and it's shaded to the over. 6.5 over minus 160. You don't see that too often.
No, we saw some sevens out there. Actually, it closed at South Point at 7. Yeah. Wow. So we saw some sevens a little bit.
Sevens offshore, too.
Looking at the market and how it closed here with this total. Game 1, it was 6.5, juiced under minus 25, and it was a winner to the under. 125 to the over, I beg your pardon. Game 2, 120 to the over, 6.5, went over. Game 3, 6.5, minus 45 to the over. And here, Matt, earlier today, I wrote it down. While we were on the air, it was minus 135 to the over, and it closed here at Circa minus 60 to the over. You saw 25-cent move to the over in this one. As Mark Stone, good news here as he left Game 3 with a upper body injury, did not play. He is on the ice tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. 102 to 99, I apologize, is the score there. In New York, back in action. The Knicks, a slight favorite right now at minus 130. And just taking a look at that bet that I made earlier tonight, I look dumb because it's now even money on the Boston Celtics to win the Eastern Conference as they have squandered yet another lead.
Well, I'll say this. There are a lot of Jason Tatum bashers out there. And
He's played very well
tonight. There are times when he deserves to be bashed. He fades in the fourth quarter. But tonight, that's not one of those nights. Tatum's got 41 points. He's got 7 made threes, 7 for 15 from 3. He's about to score now to make it 102-101. Knicks are going to lead by 1. Al Horford doing nothing tonight. Drew Holiday doing nothing. Derek White and Jason Tatum kind of carrying this offense. Jaylen Brown's playing okay, but not getting a lot of bench production. Celtics are 17 for 40 from 3, but if they lose, and this game is now tied at 102, if the Celtics lose tonight, nobody's going to be bashing Jason Tatum for this performance.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Buckle up, folks. 102.
He might finish with 50 tonight, Tim.
It's 102-102 after he makes this free throw. Yeah. Celtics minus 125 on the money line. This is going to be a fun finish. And right now, if you believe that the Celtics can win this, indeed, you could get even money on them to win the Eastern Conference. Oh, boy. The Edmonton Oilers have silenced our crowd behind us as they strike first, Matt. They score a goal. How quick into the game here?
1 minute, 27 seconds.
Eesh, not what you're looking for if you are Aiden Hill and the Vegas Golden Knights. As we watch the replay on this one, Vegas turns it over in their own zone, and Edmonton pops it top corner. As the speaking of popping it, OG Anunoby hits a 3. 105-102. OG Anunoby, 4 of 8 from 3. The New York Knicks, the never say die Knicks, trailed by 14 in the third quarter. They have a 3-point lead midway through the fourth quarter. Hey, folks, you can bet on the Preakness Stakes with First Bet and get rewarded. New customers can use this promo code VSiN200 to score a 20% rebate on all wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. That's win or lose, you get paid back. Download Download First Bet app today or visit first.com/bet. Use the promo code VSiN200. Once again, first.com/bet. Promo code VSiN200. 3-point lead for the Knicks. They've got the momentum on their side. We'll see how this one finishes out.